Hey guys, this video is the last in a 4-part series about my 12-year-old son Diego's budget, and tomorrow he's going to be 13, so it's a good thing we're wrapping it up now. So today we're going to focus on 3 different things, and that is payday, what he does with his money, and then we will talk a little bit about net worth. All right, last time we talked about locking it in. On every Friday we lock in his earnings from the week. Payday rolls just right after locking it in. So on the last Friday of the month, we sit down. He doesn't have to have his planner. I have his planner right here. The planner is only for locking it in. What we do for payday is we just do it purely in the budget. So let's jump into the budget now and I'll show you. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at Diego's August budget. And because it's September now, August is totally done. You can see all of his income here, practicing independence, interest from his credit union, commissions from each of the 4 Fridays in the month, some money that he earned from our business, and then actually a gift that he received. We had a Lego store open in our area and he was really excited. And so I gifted each of my kids $10 just to have a little bit extra spending money for the grand opening of the store. Anyway, we've already talked about practicing independence and interest and gifts and things like that. So we're just going to focus on the commissions again because this is about payday. So what we do is we add up all of his commissions that he earned for the month. We also add in his income from the business, just any money that he earned from work. So we'll add it together. We'll do $15.25 plus $2.25 plus $27.25 plus $43.50 plus $65. He earned $153.25 in August. We run it just through a simple formula. First thing we do with his earnings is we take 20% off the top and we pay that toward taxes. So see here, box number 2, taxes 20% of income. So we'll multiply it by 0.2, and that's $30.65, which you can see here he added. So far this year, he's paid $117.55 toward taxes. So we take the total of what he earned, which was the $153.25, and we subtract his tax bill, which was $30.65. So he has $122.60 left. After that, he does his generosity, so that's $15.42. So we subtract $15.42 for generosity. And then family fun is $6, so we subtract $6. He has $101.18 left. So what we'll do now is we will just divide that number in half. So he has $50.59 to put towards saving and $50.59 to put towards spending. So the formula is you take your earnings, you subtract 20% for taxes, then you do your fixed expenses, which he sets once a year what those are. Those 2 categories are generosity / holiday celebrations and family fun. Once he subtracts his 2 fixed cost categories, then whatever is left, he splits it in half and he has fun with half of it and he saves half of it. I don't care what he saves for. As you can see in the budget here, he's saving toward a car and he has over $1,000 for his first car. And like I said, tomorrow he'll be 13. The funny thing is we've told him that when he turns 16, he will have safe, reliable transportation to drive toward, when he needs to work or run errands or do like responsibility related things for sure. And then obviously who he is and how he is and all of that is going to depend on if he has transportation to use for fun things too. But we haven't said we're going to buy you a car or you're going to use our car. We don't really know. So it's interesting. He definitely wants to make sure that he has a vehicle to drive when he turns 16, which is really cool. And so he's putting money toward a car, but he may actually not buy his car. We don't know, but he's doing that for himself. And of course, he can always change the name. He doesn't have to say my car. I mean, you can just come right in there and edit it if you want to. That's pretty cool. And then spending, it's the same. He can spend it on whatever he wants. I don't really judge as long as it's not bad for him. He can do whatever he wants with his money. You can see right now he has $68.85, but it's because he's recently discovered his love of Legos. But before that, he always had at least $200 built up into spending because he's like a lot of typical males and that he doesn't buy lots of little things all the time like maybe females do. When he buys something, it's more, there's more time in between purchases, but he normally spends a lot of money. That's what we do for payday. It's really simple. It's really straightforward. Of course, you know, when we've locked in his earnings and all of this, we've opened up, which I talked about in the previous video, that we go through, you know, his checking account online and make sure that all those transactions are tracked, things he spent, money that's come in. So he's verified that he actually did receive money for practicing independence. He really did receive that amount for interest. He really did all of those things. Before we move on to building his next budget so that you can see that, I just want to talk about a few things here tied to payday. The formula is great because he can play the what if game. What if I earn this much, then what do I do with it? That's good because it makes his life as predictable as he wants it to be. And that way he doesn't have to worry about things that are kind of gonna come up. He knows exactly like how much spending money he'll have. He doesn't have to worry about, am I saving for the future? Because he is. And he's saving, you know, in direct proportion to his earnings. With the 50-50 part of that formula at the end where it's a 50-50 spending saving split, he has to save at least 50%, but he can save more if he wants. But I have cautioned him against putting all of his money into savings. I think it's not good to become lopsided as a person, you know, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, where you just get used to just saving everything. I think you do need to have a little bit of fun sometimes. And obviously the flip side is true also. You know, you can't just have fun all the time. You need to always be kind of, putting money away for the future, even if you don't know what it's for. So he likes the formula. He likes just the logic of it. It makes sense to him. We've run different scenarios. If, you know, with this, if you made this much money a month, you know, we've done crazy amounts of money. This is how much money you would be saving, or this, you know, this is where you would be. We've done it with very small amounts of money. And so it makes him feel very calm and stable and steady to know that he doesn't have to obsess about money, that the formula kind of takes care of things for him. Something that he is working on is, I told him before he starts learning to drive or anything, so in the next 2 years, by the time he turns 15, I want him to get his emergency fund up from $500 to $1,000. We're going to kind of baby step him up to where, you know, at some point he has, you know, a bigger and bigger and bigger emergency fund. But so he knows that he has a couple of years. And I also told him that we would match him on that as long as he makes a little bit of progress every month after his 13th birthday. So he didn't do it for August. But as long as he's making at least $1 every month, you know, of progress toward increasing his emergency fund, that his dad and I will match him on that. So it's kind of nice because it's kind of like free money. It's kind of like a 401k match. So he doesn't actually have to put the full 500 in there. He just has to put 250. And he can use birthday money in one go. You know, if he had $250 between, you know, the holidays and his birthday or whatever, and he was just like, okay, I'm just going to sacrifice it and put it in my emergency fund, then we would match it and then he would be done. But he gets to kind of figure out for himself how he wants to do that. Like I said, my only requirement on him is that, you know, in the next 24 months in the next 2 years, that he gets that up to $1,000. So before we move on to creating his budget for the next month, but once we're done with payday and he has a good assessment of where he's at, one of the things that he does is he just takes a scrap piece of paper and he folds it in half like this, and he just writes down the line items that he may spend out of in the following month. So he'll write down clothing this much or shoes this much so that he can keep it like in his backpack. I mean, we're not a no device household, but we are a low device household. And so he doesn't have a phone with an app on it where he can check his budget. He doesn't need that. And I think it's kind of cruel to force him at this stage in his development to have that much self-discipline, to not just be on a phone constantly. So this really works well for him, just having that piece of paper in his bag. And he just, you know, as he spends money, depending on what's in the category, I mean, his clothing budget has like $500 in it. So he doesn't really have to write it down because he doesn't really spend a lot on clothing, even in one go. I mean, even if he spent $300 going nuts, he still would have a lot of money. So he doesn't have to always make notes, but it's just for his benefit to know what he has for different categories. So we do that when we're done with payday, you know, and at the top of the paper, he'll say, as of, you know, September 1st. 2023. And then his category or his line items, like I said, just only the things that he may spend money on in the month. Then we also look at the generosity category, and we go, okay, this next month, what do you have coming up? His birthday is this month, so that's not anything for him. But for his sister, when I sat down with her to look at September, she's like, oh, I need to, Diego's birthday is coming up, so I need to do that. So like on her piece of paper, she wrote down, Diego's birthday, and this is what my budget is. That's really helpful, is, to write down what you think you might spend, but then also to look at the generosity category and go, okay, what do I have? And, now that we're getting into the fall, you can do your holiday shopping anytime. And so like he has that written down now. Whereas, in August, he didn't have his holiday budget items like on his paper because he wasn't going to spend for those categories anyway. And with his spending money, when he has money to spend, I pitch in as little as possible. If he asks for guidance or input, I do that. If he wants to buy something, to the extent that it affects our household, I will say something like let's say he wanted to buy a Lego set that was, I think the Eiffel Tower is like 5 feet tall or something. I would say before he bought that, where are you going to put that? Because you only have so much space. Now, I wouldn't say you can't buy that, we don't have space for it. I would ask him and let him solve the problem. Who knows? He may have a plan for it. He may be getting ready to get rid of a bunch of stuff and he knows exactly where he wants it. I do ask questions, or, if he wanted to buy, for example, at Winco, they have those candy blocks, spelled BLOX. They look like Legos and they actually stack in each other. That candy is so good. It's addicting, very addicting in the bulk bins if you're interested. But if he wanted to buy $20 worth of that would be a no. I wouldn't allow him to buy that much. So it's not like he's a little adult and he can just do whatever he wants because it's his money. His dad and I give input and feedback and guidance and leadership, but he really is making his spending decisions himself with his spending money. I want him to develop decision-making skills. I also want him to feel that benefit of I worked, I earned, and now I can do this, and I don't have to worry about being judged for what I spend it on. Okay, so now we're gonna go through in every dollar, and we're gonna create his September budget, and he said that it would be fine if I did this on camera. So let's do another screencast. So here's his budget. This is just where we left off. We're going to click the arrow that says next month, and it says, hey there, looks like you need a budget for September. We'll copy August budget to get you started. Start planning for September. So I clicked on that, and here we are. So some of these things need to be adjusted. We don't know what his interest was for the month of, for the month of August. We don't know what his commissions will be, so we're just gonna zero everything out. And then color music, I'm going to delete the number. He's probably going to copy edit a lesson this month, but I'm not sure. So we'll just leave color music there blank, just in case. And then this Lego gift, I'm not doing that again this month. So you come over here and you hit that trash can and it says, are you sure you want to delete Lego gift? Delete. Okay, so now it says we're $165.79 over budget. So we need to go back here and kind of clear it out. And by the way, me, mom and dad, $90 has now adjusted up. Like I said, things are changing and I added this family fund, $10 a month. So up to $120 a year, he can decide some of the fun things that we do as a family, like locally, or if we're on a trip and he wants to do something special, like go ride go-karts somewhere or go to a national historic site and do a cave hike or something like that. He can make that decision for us. So that's what's new. Okay, and his minimum tax is $4.28. So we're gonna adjust that down. So you can see this red number is going down as I decrease the numbers. So my car, we're gonna bring that back to 0 because that's not part of his minimum earnings, and then spending, we're gonna do that. And so it should be red $25.70 because that is his minimum earning amount. See that here, $25.70. The first $25.70 that he earns, I've already covered this, but we'll be real quick. It needs to go toward his fixed expenses, which is 3 things. It's taxes, 20% of his income, generosity, which is holidays and birthdays and spontaneous giving, and then also family fun. So if you add the $6 for family fun, the $15.42 for generosity, and then you add 20%, well, sort of, But you figure out what 20% would be to cover the taxes on that income. It's $4.28. So if you add those numbers together, his fixed expenses, it's $25.70 is the minimum that he has to earn in the month. So that's why it's red, $25.70. Okay, and then what I will do is I will check a calendar real quick here. So I've got my calendar here, and I'm just going to see how many Fridays there are in September. September 1st is Friday, so technically, he's earned that money in August, but we lock in earnings on Friday, so that one counts as a September locking in date, so that income he'll get that is part of the September payday at the end of September. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's 5 Fridays in September, so I'm going to come over to the screencast. I'm going to click on add income. I'm going to just copy and paste this, and we're going to call that Friday number 5, and then we're going to drag that up here with the commissions. So the dragging is just going over these dots here, holding down your mouse or your trackpad or whatever, and then just dragging it up. So I think now our budget is ready. We have all of his income is zeroed out except for practicing independence, which he will receive. And the first time that we lock in his income on the first Friday of September, he will look in his credit union and verify that he received the $100 because you trust but verify. Then he'll track that he received that, which you just click that here. Oh yes, it's out of the screen, but there's a little plus sign off to the right. Anyway, so that looks good. Practicing independence, $100 looks good. Taxes, the minimum is $428. Generosity, it's $15.42 all put together. Family fund, $6, that looks good. And then saving is 0 because that doesn't happen till the end of the month, till payday. And then spending also at the end of the month, so that's 0. So it's good. So his September budget is all ready to go now, and we're off and running. All right, so that leaves one topic, and that is net worth, calculating net worth. I calculate Diego's total net worth with him at least twice a year. I usually do it sometime around summer, either the beginning of summer or the end of summer, like around his birthday, which would be like around now. And then I do it sometime around the end of the year when we're thinking about goals for the next year and setting his fixed expenses for the year and things like that. So typically it's twice a year, but it's not always 6 months apart. When we do the full net worth, we look at investments. So we look at his UTMA, which is the Universal Transfer to Minors Act. We log in online and look at it, and he sees his name, and he sees my name as the custodian, and he sees what's in there, and he knows what we're putting in there each month for him. So he knows that. So we look at his UTMA, and he knows what that's for, what we intend that to be. Then we also log in and look at his 529. So a 529 plan is a tax-free investment. Everything is invested in mutual funds at this point. We look at his 529, which is a tax-free college savings. It has to be used on education. I think maybe you can take it out and not use it on education, but then you have to pay like penalties and taxes and things like that. So he also has a 529. And so we look at that. And 529s are transferable between siblings. Even though it's in his name, it's like half of it would be intended for him and half of it would be intended for his sister. We don't invest in it anymore because, they may do college and they may do some college classes to learn some specific skills. They may do trade school, we're not sure, but we're not like on the like full on college degree, all of that track. And he is such an artist and such a creative person that he doesn't have to do college to have like a happy, successful, vibrant life, whatever that is for him. So we take his 529 and we cut it in half, and then we take his UTMA, like I said, that is totally in his name. He has one and his sister has one, and we're actively investing in that. So that's growing faster than the 529. And then we also just look at what he has money in his wallet. If he wants to include his gift cards that he has, he can. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's his choice. And then we also look at all the money that he has in the credit union. So student savings, money market, checking, all of that. So we add all of those things together so that he can see what his net worth is. But then, he understands that a lot of it he doesn't have access to yet because they're investments, they're not liquid, and they are intended for him at a later time. So he's kind of getting used to that idea of, I have resources, but I don't have just bottomless access to just spending money and going crazy. I think that's an important development step to take. But then he also sees what he has in his credit union, and it's exciting for him. And then again, he's making that connection, like, here's what I have in spending, but then here's what I have liquid cash. And it's like what he has for spending is such a small amount of what he has liquid cash that, again, it reinforces that, okay, I'm calm, I'm steady, everything is good, I have resources, I'm prepared for the future and things like that, at least to some extent. I mean, no one can be fully prepared for the future no matter what happens, but, reasonably prepared. But then I also have this to have fun with, but it's not the same. There's not one number. I see what I have and I can just use it for whatever. It's not like that. He's kind of learning to balance like the duality of, okay, this is a big number, but then this is a number for this specifically. Yeah, so that's what we do. And then with net worth, so he doesn't feel as much ownership to his investments, which is good because he can't use them anyway. He's not putting the money in there. If he goes off the rails, all we have to do is just shred all the paperwork, and good luck finding the money that's there in your name. And he just doesn't feel as much ownership of it. He's not like proud of it, or, oh, I have so much money because it's a gift, from his parents. That's only a couple times a year. But when we do his budget, I will ask him, do you want to calculate your net worth? And I would say every other month or every quarter he does. And sometimes I don't ask, I just, okay, that's it. And he'll normally, like when we're really busy and we have things to do, and he'll be like, you know what, I'm going to go get my wallet. I want to calculate my net worth. I'm curious to know where I'm at. Especially when he was getting close to having a net worth of $1,000, he was really gung-ho about calculating it every month. And I'm not going to buy any clothes or anything this month, and I'm not going to spend anything, and the next month I'll, go over. And that also, calculating his net worth, he's learning that it's not just step forward, step forward, step forward. It's, 3 steps forward and 1 step back. 3 steps forward and 1 step back. That's what real progress in the real world in life is like, right? Like winter comes, all the plants go to sleep or they die. And then when they wake up in the spring, they get a little bit bigger than they were last year, but they don't just keep getting bigger, they get big and then they go to sleep, they lose their leaves, they look, small or whatever. So he's practicing that and building that in his emotions and in the gray matter of his brain. That real progress is some forward movement and then some back movement. And that is it on the series about my 12-year-old son Diego's finances, budget, all that kind of thing. I'm sure I left a lot of things out. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.